Hey beautifuls. So I wanted to jump on tonight and talk about my experience today in Brisbane with Australia's #1 dating coach, Mark Rosenfeld, who took me out today in Brisbane and just to practice and film approaching strangers, basically. And I wanted to speak to this and some of the things I learned, what I experienced, because for me, this is a really big vulnerability. And most people probably wouldn't think it's very vulnerable for me because I probably come off as pretty confident. And actually, I'm quite an introvert. I'm actually an introvert, but I find it quite easy to get up on a stage and speak in front of a lot of people. But, you know, going up to strangers, approaching people feels vulnerable for me at times. I've gotten a lot better than I used to be, but growing up I was quite shy and definitely have felt very vulnerable around approaching men or even making eye contact with men that I'm attracted to is something that I've had to really kind of push myself with. So, you know, let me know, are you someone that struggles with approaching, whether, you know, you're a man or a woman? Like, do you struggle with approaching if you see someone that you like to chat to or someone that you're attracted to? Do you find this a struggle? And so I want to get to what I learned today and what I experienced. It was really interesting, and it really helped me to get out of the stories that I tell myself around some of my vulnerabilities around approaching men. So but I first wanted to share how I actually met Mark, because Mark, he's awesome. He's an amazing dating coach, and I love his videos on YouTube. He's had like over 10 million views, and he's got some epic content, and I think it's really authentic, which I think is really important in dating. So it's not about playing games, it's about being authentic, it's about being fun, it's about being playful, it's about being vulnerable and accessing your feminine, and so really beautiful stuff. And we actually did a couple of interviews today where he interviewed me as a guest expert for his YouTube channel, which is called Make Him Yours, and you can just Google him, Mark Rosenfeld, and you'll find his YouTube channel there. I highly recommend you guys follow it. So basically must have been about 6 months ago, I was meant to go on this date with someone that I'd met a couple of times, and he expressed interest, right? There was a mutual interest, and this guy just didn't. He was supposed to pick me up and take me out for lunch, and he just didn't show up. And it was about 10 minutes after the time that he was supposed to pick me up, and this has never happened to me before. Like, it was like it basically got stood up, and I was like, this is so weird. Like, I'm not even used to this happening. And so I ended up just Googling. I'm like, do I like message him? Do I message this guy and see where he is or how he's going? Like, what do I do? So I ended up actually Googling, you know, what to do if a guy like doesn't show up for a date or doesn't show up on time. And this is when I actually found one of Mark's videos. And I hadn't, like, back then I didn't really follow a lot of dating coaches. But yeah, so I started watching some of his videos, and then I started watching some other dating coaches' videos, and really fascinating. I started to learn even more about men from a different angle, because I'm obsessed with learning and understanding men, and so I even got to go deeper into that. And then I actually felt like to reach out to Mark, so I reached out because I love some of his stuff, and I realized that he actually lived in Brisbane, like, you know, an hour away, and we connected through that. But the funny thing is, how I actually met him in person, I was at this workshop, Dancing Eros, if you guys know it. At Dancing Eros, they invite men in as to be part of one of the rituals, and I can't tell you guys exactly what happens because there's like sacredness to it. But let's just say, and he didn't know it was me, but I recognized him, and so I ended up being in this ritual, and that's how we met in person. And then I have to stay connected with both of us, you know, helping women and being really passionate about that. And so one of the things that he's done is he does these skits, right, on YouTube, these skits where it's like giving you examples of what you might do in these. Hey Mark, yeah, there he is. Hi, I was just talking about how we met and how I found your YouTube channel. Yeah, and the, kind of the story behind it, and then I'm going to get into today, what we did today. So Mark's now in Sydney. Mark's now in Sydney doing more auditions, taking other people out to do the same thing that we did today. So basically, so he does these I guess I'm calling them skits, but where to give examples of how you might act in a certain situation with a man, where maybe there's some vulnerability or maybe some conversation you might have. So you have to go follow you'll see what I mean if you go follow his YouTube channel or some of the videos. So he put a post up about looking for other women to be part of the channel and actually to do some of these videos. And what I did, and if you guys want, I'll post this video up. He asked people to audition. And what I did is I created a video in an 80s outfit, and the whole audition video was I think it's about 3 minutes long, was me in an 80s outfit and only using 80s song titles to answer the question. So if you guys want me to post this, I'm pretty proud of it. Let me know, and comment, post it or something, but comment, post it EJ below, and I will put the video up, and maybe I'll set you guys a challenge to see if you can pick all the songs that all the 80s songs that I used in this video. And one of the reasons for this video is because what Mark talks about a lot, and I've seen a lot of dating coaches talk about this, is the importance of playfulness and the importance of being playful and having a laugh. And I think this is something that I see commonly, and it's been in myself, and with a lot of purpose-driven women, they shut down their playfulness and they have this kind of wall of protection up and not allowed this more this inner child, playful, fun self to show through. And I noticed also the more that I've become conscious, the more I stopped being sarcastic. I kind of made it wrong, things like that. So it's I feel like one of the great things that watching these videos has helped me to give me more permission to be more playful, and to know that it's just as valuable as being intelligent and purpose driven and ambitious and all this kind of stuff. So I've definitely been embodying that more over the last 6 months, and it's been super fun, and I've had some great dates because of it as well. I had some really fun dates embodying that. So that's a whole other topic, and I'll speak to that another time. But I'm getting to my point, I promise. As my mentor Alex would say, I'm landing the plane. I've got to land the plane. It's a very masculine thing. Get to the point, land the plane. Land the plane, EJ. And then my feminine's I want to go over here, and I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about this, but I'm gonna try and land the plane soon, guys, I promise. So we got down to the last, I think a certain amount of people that would actually come and do this audition, and which was today, and I had no idea what we were doing, no clue. But I got there, and I got to the studio, and I sat down with Mark. He asked me a couple of questions, and he was like, so what would you be like if you were if we were doing a scenario where you had to go out and do approaching and flirting, and you would be leading that? And I was just I'm such a leader, and I'm really embody that really well. I feel like I could teach people this stuff, and even though it would be challenging, I'm all about vulnerability and really throwing myself in. And Mark's right, let's go, let's do it. And I'm now? And he's we're gonna go to South Bank, we're gonna go out, we're gonna approach some people, and there was a really interesting feeling. There was part of me that was shit, are you gonna be able to do this, EJ? And then there's part of me that was really excited, oh yeah, this is great, this is throwing myself in, and it's actually exactly what I've been needing. So that's what we did, and it was a really interesting experience, because the first thing Mark asked me to do was to pick someone. I had to choose someone for him to approach, and it could even be challenging or vulnerable or funny. So we're at South Bank, and there was people sunbaking, and I was okay, I want you to go up to a woman that's like clearly sunbaking. She's like, just really really like chilled out sunbaking, probably doing her like just like being in her own space. And there was actually a couple of girls that were lying together. And so that was what I said. I was like, hey, I just want you to go and talk to them, have a positive impact. And so he went off and he did that. It was so funny when he was doing that. And this is all being filmed, by the way. It was all being filmed. So I was just kind of watching, and I was like kind of secretly kind of like watching, so they like couldn't see me. And then these people walked down the steps next to me, and they looked at me and they smiled. And one of the things I noticed about Mark is that as people were walking past, he smiled and he said hi, and which I thought was really cool. And then so I smiled at these people. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to embody like more smiling and more saying hi. And so I smiled at them and I said hi. And then they came back and they came up to me and they were like, they said to me, do you have anything that you would like to be prayed for? Like, do you need any prayers? And I was like, well, I'm about to do this audition. Can I can have a prayer for that? And they're like, okay. And then they're like, we're missionaries, and we, and you know, started talking to me about Jesus. And I said, you know, I'm brought up Catholic, but I'm more spiritual now. And then they're like, would you like to pray with us? And I was like, okay. And so we held hands. And meanwhile, Mark's over there talking to these girls. And I'm just like there holding their hands. And they're like, Jesus Christ, peace, bless EJ. Like, help her to go really well. This thing. And I was just like, what's going on? And then they're like, now repeat after me. And I can't remember the words, but I remember there was one word that was like, and I'm a sinner. And I'm like, I did not say that because I'm like, I don't believe in that. But I was like, okay, I understand the gesture. And they weren't really pushy or anything about it. They were actually really lovely about it. So I just was kind of just open. Like, I kind of opened my mind a little bit. And actually at the end, I acknowledged them and I said to them, you know, I think it's very brave that you came up to me and just approached me, you know, without even knowing if I'd be open to something like this. And I just really want to acknowledge you for that. And I'm really curious as to why was it that you felt like you could approach me. And they said, because you felt like open, like because you had this light. And I truly believe that maybe one of the reasons they did is because I smiled, because I looked at them. And, you know, like I gave an opening. And I think this is very true for when, like, if we want, as a woman, if I want a man to approach me, I have to be open. Like, it's like giving him an opening, right? So if I kind of, yeah, so it's like my body language was open, my eyes were looking, like I smiled. And so this is true for like if wanting a man to approach. And Mark and I talked about like this whole ice queen energy that with a lot of women walk into a space with this kind of wall, this ice queen up, and then wonder why men don't approach them. It's because they're not even like holding their body language in a way that is opening, right? So for me, this is something that I've been really like conscious of doing more. And so I'm only really thinking about this more as I talk to you guys around why they did. But they almost said it was like it felt like just a warmth, right? Just a warmth. And so that was really beautiful to receive that. And then Mark was having a good chat for like 20 minutes. and I kind of had this idea. I was like, maybe I should get him to go up to people and be like, do you have something that you would like me to pray for? But I didn't say that because I didn't want him to give that one to me. So the next thing was that I had to go up to someone. And so we walked around and Mark found this guy who was sitting on the grass and he had his headphones in and he was reading a piece of paper. Like, he was obviously studying, right? And I was like, okay. And I was like, the first thought is, oh my God, he's totally single focused. I'm going to be interrupting him. I'm going to he's not going to want to talk to me because he's going to think that I'm just annoying him, all these kind of stories, right? And what was interesting, what Mark reflected on is like, you know, if a girl came up to him and he was doing something and it kind of brightened his day, you'd think that was a really great thing, right? And I think everyone's probably a little bit different and you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. So what I did notice though is that it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and it was a lot easier than if I had just gone myself. Like if it had just been me walking along, and like I probably wouldn't even think to do this stuff. I wouldn't even think about approaching or necessarily. And I think what started to happen, I was looking around like, oh, who can I approach? Who can I talk to? I was like totally looking around to be like, oh, like I go to talk, there was a lady there with pink hair, I could just go up and talk to that lady because she's got pink hair and my hair's pink. And it was really interesting, like starting to notice and the things I wouldn't do that normally, right? I wouldn't really be like, oh, I could talk to that person. And so anyway, I went up and remember this is being filmed, and will go up on the YouTube channel, I'm sure some of it will. And so I kind of sat like maybe a meter away from this guy, and I did like really cheesy, easy opening. And I just asked him for the time. And it was so funny. He was like, he did not speak English, English was his second language. So it was a very short conversation, but basically he gave me the time. I complimented him on his watch, which is good to compliment men on things that they choose. So something that I imagine that he chose. And you know, because he was like, oh, I've only got half an hour, like, and he was all like, oh, I'm sorry, I've only got half an hour. So it was kind of like, oh, I like don't have time. So I wasn't really, and the thing is, I wasn't offended at all. I wasn't like feel rejected at all. There was none of that in the space, because, and I think this is ultimately because there was no attachment to the outcome, right? So let's say if I'd just gone in there and I'd seen this hot guy, I was really attracted to him, and I went and I sat and I started, you know, talking to him, and he kind of maybe was similar, then maybe there would have been more attachment to the outcome. But in this scenario, I felt like taking the only intention was to open my mouth, basically. Like that was it. All I had to do was open my mouth, and I was like, that's it, I can do that. So, and it was actually a fun experience. Like I didn't feel bad or awful or rejected. None of that was in the space. And afterwards I was like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this. Like I want to keep trying this out. This could be fun. And then Mark and I talked about, you know, how cool it would be to bring a group of women out and do like a workshop outing where you take a whole group of people, a group of women out, and you practice like that, and then reflect on it and give feedback and, you know, ideas and advice and all this kind of stuff. And I think that would be a really cool idea. So if any of you that are watching it would love to do this and experience this and start to shift the energy around approaching men and flirting, like I think it's like shifting the energy and anchoring in a new energy around it, so it doesn't feel scary or vulnerable, so it actually feels fun and light, and taking any attachment out of it. So yeah, so if it's something that you might be interested in, I'd love to know. You know, maybe you could just comment below the words flirt, and then if that's something that ends up happening, I can let you guys know. That for me sounds like that's something that I keep saying to Mark, when are you going to run a workshop? Then I can come to him, because he was running these workshops where he'd take women out to, I think, like to bars, and they would practice these skills. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that, and I want to try. I need to be pushed, right? I need to be pushed. I need to be made accountable to push through those fears, right? So I think it's really valuable and fun, like super fun, and to do it with a bunch of women, a bunch of friends. I think it could be super cool, right? Yeah, so that was mainly my experience. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to share. So, you know, I'm definitely not an expert on approaching men, that's for sure. Like that's, you know, I'm an expert in many things, but not in this area. But I'm practicing, and I'm getting there, and that's all I can share from, right? That's what I can share from is my experience, and I just love to support other women to join me in that, in however form that is. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. And you know, if this is something that you struggle with, I'd love to know, because I'm pretty sure that I'm not alone. And what I really notice is that a lot of successful, purpose-driven women find it really hard to drop into that fun, playful, flirty self. around men because they're so used to being in the driver's seat and in that business zone that, and being that way with men. Like with me, I work with a lot, like I can be one-on-one with a male client and go really deep and help open them up and all of that. But then as soon as it comes to like my vulnerability being in the space, it's like learning how to drop that facilitator role and teacher role and to really be open to receiving as well. So yeah, anyway, I think I've babbled on for enough now, so I'm probably going to get going. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I really encourage you to embrace this. Like maybe tomorrow or one day, go for a walk out and just go up to someone and start a conversation. And it doesn't have to be a man or woman, or like it doesn't have to be someone you're attracted to. It can be like someone totally random that you could just go and sit next to and just start up a conversation, because the more conversations you have, the more connection you create and the easier it gets. So so that's my little tip or action to take next, and hopefully we'll get to play with this stuff more soon. All right, much love. Have an awesome, beautiful, exciting evening or day. Bye.